2:14 a.m. Persian Gulf airspace, 120 miles from Dhafra Air Base. The pitch-black night is torn apart by the deafening shriek of alarms inside the Combat Information Center. If you think the Iranian Revolutionary Guard had a master plan to cripple American air power tonight, then prepare to witness the most humiliating reality check in modern military history. On the tactical screens, it is not just one blip. It is a massive, crawling infection of hostile signals moving with dead-eyed precision toward thousands of sleeping U.S. personnel. 76 Shahed. 136 suicide drones are skimming the dark waves at barely 200 feet, desperately hiding from the sweeping gaze of American radar. They are the mindless zombie swarm, sent as sacrificial lambs to clear a bloody path for 12 Zolfaghar tactical ballistic missiles plunging from the stratosphere. Target time to impact, 4 minutes and 20 seconds. The air inside the CIC instantly turns to solid concrete. Stay focused, because what happens next is an absolute masterclass in making the grizzly blink first. Deep inside a command bunker under the Zagros Mountains, the atmosphere is intoxicatingly arrogant. Iranian generals are already high-fiving over their glowing monitors, utterly convinced their cheap swarm is tearing apart the billion-dollar American shield. They pat themselves on the back for this supposed masterstroke. To them, the financial math is brutally simple and beautiful. Why deploy expensive jets when you can launch a swarm of $20,000 Shahed drones to completely drain the U.S. military of its precious $4 million Patriot PAC-3 interceptors? They envision American commanders sweating bullets, forced to burn through a multi-million-dollar magazine just to swat down fiberglass toys, leaving the airspace wide open for the Zolfaghar missiles trailing right behind. The commanders sip their tea, savoring the thought of a crippled Dhafra base and a massive propaganda victory. Most ordinary people would look at this incoming wave of flying explosives and see an unstoppable apocalypse. But here is the lethal error that makes this entire Iranian operation a masterclass in catastrophic miscalculation. While the bunker is busy celebrating a victory they haven't earned, 30,000 feet above the Persian Gulf, a single E-2D Advanced Hawkeye is silently orbiting in the freezing dark. This aircraft does not carry a single bullet, yet it is about to become the deadliest weapon in the sky. If you are a casual observer, you might think the American air defenders are sweating over the math of shooting down $20,000 fiberglass drones with $4 million Patriot missiles. But those with a sharp tactical mind will immediately realize the United States military does not play by the enemy's desperate economic rules. The Hawkeye is acting as an omnipotent brain, staring down at the swarm and instantaneously sharing targeting data through a flawless tactical data link directly to an Aegis destroyer. A fully automated, flawlessly synchronized kill web is already tightening around the Iranian swarm. Inside the heavily fortified walls of Dhafra, the air defense commander is staring down a brutal mathematical nightmare that would make any sane tactician sweat cold bullets. Let us break down the exact terrifying cost-exchange ratio this commander is facing in the next 90 seconds. The 76 Iranian Shahed 136 drones buzzing toward the base are basically flying lawnmowers strapped with cheap explosives, costing around $20,000 each. To shoot them down using standard doctrine, the United States military would normally have to launch a volley of Patriot PAC-3 missile segment enhancement interceptors. Each one of those glorious, state-of-the-art flying interceptors carries a jaw-dropping price tag of $4 million. If you were the commander of this battery, staring at a screen filled with dozens of incoming hostile contacts, what would your next move be? Would you stay and fight by emptying your multi-million-dollar magazines into the pitch-black sky just to swat down cheap fiberglass? Or would you freeze, knowing that the real threat is hiding right behind this initial wave? Stay with me, because the final move here isn't just a shot across the bow. It is a masterclass in psychological and economic warfare. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard explicitly designed this saturation attack to bleed the American air defense dry, aiming to force a total depletion of the Patriot interceptors before the heavy-hitting Zolfaghar tactical ballistic missiles drop from the stratosphere to shatter the runways into a million pieces. The tension in the Combat Information Center is so thick you could cut it with a combat knife. Because if the commander makes the wrong call and fires those expensive interceptors at the decoy swarm, the base will be completely defenseless against the 12 ballistic planet killers arriving just minutes later. Aegis combat system algorithms are crunching millions of variables per second, calculating the exact trajectory, altitude, and velocity of every single incoming Iranian drone, while simultaneously executing a ruthless sector scheduling protocol to ensure that not a single piece of incoming garbage slips through the net and not a single expensive missile is wasted. Every officer in the room knows the grim reality. In modern warfare, mathematics defeats muscle every single time. The clock is relentlessly ticking down, and the United States military is standing on the razor-thin edge of a multi-billion-dollar strategic disaster. Back in the subterranean command center buried deep beneath the Zagros Mountains, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard commanders are already cracking open their celebratory pistachios and sipping sweet tea, completely blinded by their own intoxicating hubris. They are looking at their radar screens, watching the 76 Shahed 136 drones creeping closer to Al Dhafra, and in their deluded minds, they have already won the greatest asymmetrical victory of the 21st century. The room is echoing with arrogant laughter and high fives as junior officers eagerly draft the press releases that will soon flood state television, boasting about how their $20,000 flying mopeds brought the mighty United States military to its absolute knees. They honestly believe they have outsmarted the Americans, trapping them in an unwinnable economic dilemma where the mighty Patriot batteries will be forced to exhaust their multi-million-dollar magazines on cheap fiberglass decoys. But folks, here is the genius detail that makes this whole pathetic display of premature celebration so unbelievably humiliating for Tehran. If you ask why the American radar screen seems so terrifyingly calm right now, I will tell you an unbelievable military secret. The Iranians are completely oblivious to the fact that their entire swarm is flying straight into a meticulously calculated kill box, because they fundamentally misunderstand how a true superpower fights a modern war. They are celebrating a checkmate, while the United States has not even moved its queen. If you look closely at the tactical feeds from the Iranian side, you would think the American air defenders are paralyzed by fear. But those of us with a sharp tactical eye know exactly what is happening. The US military is not panicking. They are just letting the garbage fly a little closer so they do not have to walk too far to sweep up the ashes. The Iranian commanders are so drunk on their own cheap propaganda that they fail to realize their stealthy swarm has been continuously tracked, cataloged, and locked onto by an invisible web of American sensors since the second those drones left their launchers. It is a spectacular display of military embarrassment, watching grown men celebrate their own impending doom, totally unaware that the hammer of American technological supremacy is already swinging down. At precisely 15 miles from the perimeter of Al Dhafra, the Iranian swarm crosses the invisible threshold of destruction. But here is the twist that makes this mission an absolute masterclass in strategic intimidation. Instead of the blinding flash of a $4 million Patriot missile leaving its silo, the night sky is suddenly filled with the menacing, low-frequency thrum of American AH-64 Apaches rising from the dark dunes like mechanical reapers. If you were the commander of the Iranian operation, you would panic right now, because the United States just flipped the economic script. The Apaches are loaded with the Advanced Precision Kill Weapon System, or APKWS, which is a brilliant laser guidance kit strapped onto a dirt-cheap Hydra rocket. By modifying a $30,000 unguided projectile into a precision-guided swarm killer with absolute pinpoint accuracy, the American military just turned a math problem into a localized apocalypse. Stay tuned, because the physics of destruction in the next 30 seconds is about to change the map of tactical warfare forever. The Apache gunners paint the Shahed drones with lasers, the rockets ignite with a deafening roar, and a continuous chain reaction of explosive kinetic energy rips through the night air, instantly transforming the suicide drones into plummeting fireballs of shattered pride. But wait, there is one more layer to this triple threat failure that the Iranian planners completely missed. While the Apaches are treating the decoy swarm like clay pigeons, the true silent assassins are already executing their flawless counterstrike. A flight of F-35, a Lightning II stealth fighters, is operating in complete radio silence, refusing to turn on their active radars to avoid detection by the Iranian Bavar 373 air defense systems. Those with a sharp tactical mind know that the F-35A is equipped with the AN/AAQ-37 distributed aperture system, an omniscient network of passive infrared sensors that stares through the darkness to detect the thermal blooming of the Zolfaghar ballistic missiles the microsecond their rocket motors ignite. They are locking onto the enemy launchers from miles away, while on the final defensive perimeter of Dhafra, the ultimate classified ace in the hole is quietly humming to life. Project Meteor, a high-power microwave weapon system, unleashes an invisible torrent of concentrated electromagnetic energy that instantly flash-fries the internal circuitry of the last 10 Shahed drones that survived the Apache onslaught. The thermal truth is about to get very loud, as those remaining Iranian drones simply die in mid-air, their electronic brains completely fried, dropping out of the sky and smashing into the desert floor like dead bricks. With the sky swept entirely clean of suicide drones and the Zolfaghar missiles neutralized cleanly in the upper atmosphere, it is finally time for the United States to deliver the ultimate punishing blow. If you are an Iranian commander watching your masterstroke disintegrate into burning trash, what would your next move be? The Revolutionary Guard decide to push their luck on the water, sending a swarm of Zolfaghar speedboats to launch a desperate, opportunistic attack. But folks, here is the lethal error they just committed. They are sailing straight into the furious path of the USS McFall, an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer that is about to transform into an absolute executioner. The warship's mighty Mark 45 5-inch gun roars to life, vomiting a relentless stream of airburst fragmentation rounds that detonate perfectly above the water. A terrifying curtain of molten shrapnel shreds the fiberglass hulls of the Iranian speedboats into sinking toothpicks, turning their cheap naval ambush into a chaotic graveyard of floating debris. But wait, there is one more layer to this triple threat failure, because up in the freezing night sky, the arrogant victims have just arrived. 4 heavily outdated Iranian F-14 Tomcats and MiG-29S scramble from their runways, completely confident that the pitch-black night will hide their desperate attempt to salvage the situation. They have no idea they were mathematically dead the exact second their landing gear left the tarmac. A flight of heavily armed American F-15E Strike Eagles has been loitering in the darkness, waiting for this exact suicidal move. Even before the radar warning, receivers in the Iranian cockpits have a chance to flash red. A relentless rain of AIM-120D AMRAAM air-to-air missiles is launched from well beyond visual range. Look closely at the sky as the Iranian jets are instantly vaporized into expanding fireballs of twisted metal, plunging into the dark ocean below. The entire engagement, from the first blaring siren to the final burning wreckage, is over in exactly 14 minutes, proving once and for all that overwhelming technological supremacy will always crush the pathetic strategy of throwing cheap meat into a meat grinder. As the fiery debris of the Iranian swarm rains into the dark waters of the Persian Gulf, the absolute scale of this American strategic masterpiece becomes crystal clear. Down on the tarmac of Dhafra, the multi-million-dollar Patriot PAC-3 MSE interceptors are still sleeping quietly in their launch tubes, completely untouched. The United States military just defended a multi-billion-dollar air base and a fleet of vulnerable oil tankers without draining a single drop of its high-end defensive magazine. The Iranian generals wanted to bankrupt the American shield, but all they managed to do was burn millions of their own dollars in a spectacular 14-minute fireworks display. Average viewers might just look at the burning wreckage of the MiG-29S and see a tactical loss. But those with a deep strategic mind will see the bigger picture. This is the total collapse of Iran's saturation doctrine. Not a single American soldier was scratched, and the F-35s are flying home safe. But wait, here is the ultimate nightmare the Iranian generals are waking up to right now. By launching this failed swarm, they just lit up their hidden launch sites on the American intelligence grid. The F-35 stealth fighters did not just watch the pathetic show. They mapped every single subterranean bunker across the Zagros Mountains. The United States now has the exact coordinates to unleash a devastating Tomahawk counterstrike. So, which US tactic was your favorite tonight? Comment below.